5 years after my divorce, I thought my life had finally settled into something quiet. Then the police knocked down my sense of safety in under 10 seconds. They said my name like it was already written in ink on a report. $86,000. A scam, and my daughter was standing behind me, holding a cup of coffee that wouldn't stop shaking. I used to believe that silence meant peace. After the divorce, silence became my goal, my reward for surviving a marriage that hollowed me out slowly, politely, day by day. No screaming, no dramatic endings, just a signature, a closed door, and the sound of my own footsteps echoing in an apartment that suddenly felt too big. 5 years is a long time to rebuild a man. I changed cities, I changed jobs, I even changed the way I laughed, quieter, more careful, like I didn't want to remind the world I was still here. The only thing I didn't change was my devotion to my daughter, Lena. She was 19 now, old enough to pretend she didn't need me, young enough that she still did. Every morning, she made coffee the same way. 2 spoons of sugar, milk warmed, not boiled. She said bitter coffee reminded her of arguments. Sweet coffee reminded her of safety. That morning felt like safety. Until it didn't. The knock wasn't loud. That's what scared me. It was controlled, professional, like whoever stood outside already knew how this would end. "Sir, open the door." I remember thinking, "Sir." No one had called me that in years. When I opened it, the hallway filled with uniforms. Not rushed, not aggressive, just certain. They stepped inside like my home was already theirs, like the walls had confessed before I could. One of them said my full name. First, middle, last. The way my ex-wife used to say it when she'd already made up her mind. "You're being questioned regarding an $86,000 financial fraud investigation." The words didn't land all at once. They came in pieces. Financial, fraud, investigation. Each one bounced around my skull, looking for something to stick to. I laughed. It was a reflex, an ugly, disbelieving sound. "You've got the wrong person," I said. "I barely keep my account above zero." They didn't laugh back. Behind me, I felt Lena freeze. I didn't turn around, but I could picture her exactly, the way her shoulders pulled in, the way she hugged that coffee mug like it was a shield. She had always done that when she was scared. Even as a child, the officers asked to sit, to talk, to clarify, as if $86,000 could be a misunderstanding. They asked about transactions I had never heard of, accounts I had never opened, names that meant nothing to me. They spoke calmly, professionally, like they weren't describing a version of me that didn't exist. I kept thinking, this is a mistake. A file mix-up. Any second now, someone will apologize. But apologies never came. After they left, with promises to return, with business cards that felt heavier than they should, I stood in my living room and stared at the indentation their chairs had left on the carpet. Proof that it had really happened. Lena finally spoke. "Dad, are you in trouble?" I turned to her too fast. Her coffee sloshed dangerously close to the rim. "No," I said immediately. Too quickly, too loudly. "Of course not." She nodded, but her eyes didn't believe me. Lena had inherited her mother's instinct for unspoken truths. That used to be something I admired. That day, it terrified me. I spent the afternoon making calls. Banks, customer service lines, automated voices that apologized for delays while my life unraveled between hold music. Every answer led to another question. Every question ended with the same phrase. "We'll look into it." By evening, exhaustion had settled into my bones. Lena insisted on cooking dinner. She always did when she felt useless. I sat at the table and watched her move around the kitchen, noticed things I had never paid attention to before. She checked her phone more than usual. She flinched when it buzzed. She didn't drink her coffee after reheating it. Small things, insignificant things, or so I told myself. Later that night, I called the only person I trusted without hesitation, Marcus. Marcus had been my anchor since the divorce. We worked together years ago, back when life still felt predictable. When my marriage ended, he was the one who showed up with no advice, no judgment. Just food, silence, and a couch to sleep on. He knew my passwords. He knew my habits. He knew the version of me that existed before everything cracked. When I told him about the police, he went quiet. 86,000, he finally said. "That's serious." "I know," I whispered. "But I didn't do anything." "I believe you," he said instantly. No pause, no doubt. "That's why it mattered. We'll figure this out." That word wrapped around my chest like a promise. Over the next few days, Marcus helped me organize paperwork, timelines, anything that could prove my innocence. He was calm where I was frantic, logical where my thoughts spiraled. He reminded me to eat, to sleep, to breathe. Sometimes, he spoke to Lena when I couldn't, reassured her, made jokes that made her smile despite herself. I was grateful, maybe too grateful, because when someone saves you while you're drowning, you don't question the current that brought them there. The police called again. More questions, more pressure, still no accusations, just implications that hung in the air like smoke. And then there was the coffee. One morning, Lena handed me a mug and hesitated. "Did you want sugar today?" she asked. I frowned. "I always want sugar." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, right, sorry." She set the cup down in front of me and walked away too quickly. I stared at the surface of the coffee. It looked normal, smelled normal, yet something about it made my stomach tighten. I didn't drink it. That afternoon, Marcus came over unexpectedly. He brought documents he said might help. We spread them across the table, the same table where Lena made her coffee every morning. At one point, Marcus stopped mid-sentence and looked at my phone, which was lighting up with notifications from my bank app. "That's odd," he said. "You didn't tell me about that account." "I don't have another account," I replied. He leaned closer. Too close. "Are you sure?" he asked softly. Before I could answer, Lena walked in, carrying 2 fresh cups of coffee. She set one in front of Marcus, one in front of me. And for the first time since the police knocked on my door, I felt something colder than fear settle in my chest. Because as Marcus wrapped his fingers around the mug, our eyes met. And I realized he already knew the answer. I watched Marcus lift the cup slowly, like he was waiting for something. Not for the taste, for my reaction. The room felt too quiet, like sound itself had stepped back to listen. Lena stood near the doorway, hands clasped behind her back, smiling too carefully. And in that silence, I understood something I wasn't ready to name yet. Marcus didn't drink the coffee. He set it down, untouched, and slid a folder across the table toward me. My name was typed on the tab, perfectly aligned, too professional for a friend who just wanted to help. "You should read this," he said. His voice hadn't changed. That was the worst part. Same calm tone, same supportive rhythm, like we were still on the same side of the table. I opened the folder. Bank statements, screenshots, timelines, transactions highlighted in yellow. My name was on every page. My address, my phone number, and a signature that looked like mine, but wasn't. My chest tightened, not with panic, but with a strange, slow clarity. This wasn't chaos. This was preparation. "Where did you get this?" I asked. Marcus shrugged lightly. "I told you, I've been helping you organize things." I looked at Lena. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She focused on the coffee machine instead, pretending to wipe a counter that was already clean. A memory surfaced. Weeks ago, Lena asking casually about my old email address. Another one, Marcus mentioning how outdated my banking security was. Another, Lena insisting on handling some bills, to help out. Individually, they were nothing. Together, they formed a shape I didn't want to see. "Lena," I said quietly. "Sweetheart, come sit." She hesitated. Marcus didn't look at her, but I noticed the way his jaw tightened. Just for a second, Lena sat. Her hands were shaking now. "No coffee this time. Did you open any accounts in my name?" I asked. Her eyes filled immediately. That was her tell. She cried when she was cornered. "Always had. I was just trying to fix things," she whispered. "You were so tired all the time." Marcus finally spoke. "She didn't mean any harm." I turned to him slowly. "I didn't ask you." The air shifted. Lena wiped her cheeks. "Mom left us with nothing, Dad. You were drowning." Marcus said there were ways to move money temporarily. That it wasn't stealing. Just shifting. Shifting. The word echoed in my head. Clean. Harmless. Like nothing could go wrong. "You said it was legal," Lena added quickly, looking at Marcus now. "You said it would never come back to him." Marcus exhaled, like a man inconvenienced by emotion. "I said the risk was minimal." Minimal. I leaned back in my chair, suddenly aware of how tired I was. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes. The kind that comes from realizing the people you love have been having conversations without you. "How much did you take?" I asked Lena. She shook her head. "I didn't touch the money. I swear." Marcus handled everything. My gaze snapped to him. He didn't deny it. Someone had to manage it, he said calmly. She's a kid. She's my kid, I said. And you're my friend. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's why you trusted me. There it was. Not anger. Not cruelty. Just truth, spoken without ceremony. I stood up slowly. My legs felt unsteady, but my voice didn't. You used my name, I said. My history. My divorce. You knew no one would question a man already broken. Marcus didn't argue. He simply adjusted his sleeves. You were invisible, he replied. That made you useful. Lena let out a small sound, half sob, half realization. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You said you were helping my dad, she whispered. I was, Marcus said. Until the scope changed. I laughed then. A short, hollow sound. $86,000, I said. That's not scope. That's a life. The police returned the next day. This time, they didn't sit. They asked Marcus questions first. He answered smoothly, confidently, like he'd rehearsed every line. Then they turned to Lena. I wanted to reach for her. To protect her the way I always had. But protection had already failed her, by trusting the wrong man, and by being too exhausted to notice. She told them everything, or almost everything. When they left, the house felt empty in a way it never had before. Not quiet, hollow. Marcus gathered his things. You should get a lawyer, he said, almost kindly. For both of you. I watched him walk to the door. 5 years of friendship, reduced to footsteps in a closing latch. Why? I asked, before he left. He paused. Because you needed me, he said. And I needed someone who wouldn't look too closely. The door closed. Lena collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I went to her then. Finally, I held her the way I did when she was small, when nightmares were simple and villains were obvious. I didn't know, she kept saying. I didn't know. I know, I replied. And I meant it. The investigation took months. Long, grinding months filled with interviews, paperwork, and the slow erosion of reputation. Some people believed me, some didn't. Marcus disappeared from my life completely. But not from the consequences. The truth came out, piece by piece, reluctantly, but fully. My name was cleared. Not clean, but cleared. The money was gone. The trust was worse. On the morning it finally ended, Lena made coffee. She asked, sugar? I nodded. She handed me the cup with both hands this time, like an offering. Like an apology that had no words left. I took a sip. It tasted the same as always. But I knew now, safety isn't in sweetness. It's in paying attention to who stands quietly beside you, and who waits patiently for the moment you stop looking.